بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الطلاق مرتان، فإمساك بمعروف أو تسريح بإحسان، ولا يحل لكم أن تأخذوا مما آتيتموهن شيئا إلا أن يخافا ألا يقيما حدود الله، فإن خفتم ألا يقيما حدود الله فلا جناح عليهما فيما افتدت به، تلك حدود الله فلا تعتدوها، ومن يتعد حدود الله فأولئك هم الظالمون. فإن طلقها فلا تحل له من بعد حتى تنكح زوجا غيره، فإن طلقها فلا جناح عليهما أن يتراجعا إن ظنا أن يقيما حدود الله، وتلك حدود الله يبينها لقوم يعلمون. وإذا طلقتم النساء فبلغن أجلهن فأمسكوهن بمعروف أو سرحوهن بمعروف، ولا تمسكوهن ضرارا لتعتدوا، ومن يفعل ذلك فقد ظلم نفسه، ولا تتخذوا آيات الله هزوا، واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم وما أنزل عليكم من الكتاب والحكمة يعظكم به، واتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله بكل شيء عليم. صدق الله مولانا العظيم، وبلغ رسوله النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم.
Jazakallah Faiz, mashallah.
وإياك جزاك الله خير. جزاك الله خير to you.
So as we discussed earlier, that this Surah Baqarah in entirety is Madani Surah. It was whole of that. It is the longest surah, and about 2.5 paras are in there. But all of it was revealed in Medina. So all the issues that are discussed here, they are of that nature that arose in the Madani life. So we dealt with the previous scripture, people of previous scriptures, Ahlul Kitab, and their stories, and they try to test Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam about the stories of previous scriptures. So now we have started a chapter in which husband-wife relationship, family life is being discussed. And as we discussed in our previous lessons, that unfortunately by the time in the pagan Arabia, it was a very permissive society for Arabia. And there was a lot of family issues that arose from it, those permissiveness, sexual permissiveness, and such was the custody and husband-wife relationship, and almost the whole society was falling apart. So Islam came and reformed it. If you look at the husband and wife relationship, it is origin of all relationship. The first relationship between Adam alayhi salam and Bibi Hawa, that so they became the parents, grandparent later, but the first and the original, the relationship is between husband and wife. And the stories go that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salam, and he was living in heaven, but he felt lonely. He had all kind of nema of Jannah, but so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one day when he was asleep, he created Bibi Hawa from his rib. And just like Yusuf alayhi salam was one of the most beautiful person Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ever created, Bibi Hawa was the most beautiful lady Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ever created. All the beautiful lady you see in this world, they are a reflection of Bibi Hawa. That's the one, all the beautiful ladies today, they inherit the beauty from Bibi Hawa, who was the mother of all of us. So when Adam alayhi salam woke up and he saw Bibi Hawa, and he was pleasantly surprised, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala offered him that you want to have a nikah with Hawa. So pay the meher for her. So Adam alayhi salam asked, what would be the meher? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Durud Sharif will be the meher. So prescribed amount of recitation of Durud was given to Adam alayhi salam. He recited, that was accepted as a meher of Bibi Hawa and by Adam alayhi salam. And you see that, this is the key thing. In family life is a key thing in the Islamic family life. As you know, that when the first revelation came to Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was overwhelmed with that. And the first support and the first convert came from his own household. Bibi Khatija was first to accept Islam. She was the first to console him and support him in that. And such was the case with Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam love for Bibi Khatija was so profound that in later life, when he saw the necklace of Bibi Khatija, he again got overwhelmed when she had passed away and she was crying. And the 10th year of Nabuwat, in which Bibi Khatija passed away, and so was the uncle of Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Abu Talib. So that was such a hard year on Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that year was termed the year of grief, the 10th year of Nabuwat. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning like the basis of husband-wife relationship, like, in the Christian world, they say that, only that shall set them apart, the husband and wife. But on the other hand, Islamic concept of marriage, it is actually an agreement between a husband and wife in which they should fulfill with all the sincerity and all that. But sometimes a situation arises that, no amount of reconciliation and no amount of, counseling can help them. So Allah has given both husband and wife the option to, get out of the relationship that has no hope in it. So although, the commitment is there from the both side. So when a husband, there's a different term. When a husband divorces his wife, it is called talaq. And when wife, she does the petition for the divorce, it is called qala. So there are both options available. But among halal thing, this is the most unpleasant thing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like talaq, but it is permissible. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the divorce or the talaq is only two of them. So the proper way of Islamic divorces, that things are not working out, husband can give one talaq to his wife when she's clean, and wait for another period or another menstruation cycle. And again, if things have not cooled down between husband and wife, he should proceed with another talaq. And the third one should be the final one. If things are not working out, it is called talaq, the final divorce, in which there's no reconciliation. In the first and second one, so that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning, that divorce is only two. So now what about if a person in one breath says talaq, talaq, talaq 3 times? There's a controversy about this one, or there are difference of opinion. In Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when anybody who would say talaq 3 times, that was considered a stress on that, a dislike, or very. So when a person say those 3 words 3 times, so it was only considered one divorce, in which they will cool off, and the next month they will try to reconcile with each other and everything. And that was because that was the language that was said, that even the Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when in his khutbah, when he stressed something, he will emphasize, he wanted to emphasize the certain things, he will repeat it 3 times. That was the sunnah of Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So that was the acceptable thing, that that when for one person who got mad at his wife and said talaq 3 times, so it will be considered one talaq, and all the process for that cooling period of one menstruation cycle will be followed, and then they will try to reconcile again. Then Hazrat Abu Bakr followed the same protocol, but in third time, when Hazrat Umar Farooq time came, sort of language, Arabic language change, like to emphasize a particular word 3 times was changed, and he consulted his linguist and jurist, all his shura, and they say now the time has changed and everything, and the interpretation was that if somebody say verbally talaq, that would be one talaq. Somebody say 2, it will be considered 2, and when they 3. So in one breath, if somebody says talaq 3 times, it will be considered 5. So that was the interpretation of language and the jurisprudence by Umar Farooq and scholars of his council. They interpret that. But again, even in today, Imam Shafi and Imam Hanbal and Imam Abu Hanifa, they differ on that. So I'm not an expert on that, but that's how it arises, that they are still think that 3, everybody, as Quran is mentioned, that there are only 2 divorces and the third divorce will be considered final. But how? Is it that verbally 3 times, or is it in the process that it is a divorce, you wait one period of a woman, and then it's a second or a third would be the final. And after that, it is just like this is it is often mentioned that when people get married, people have very good hopes. There are a lot of festivities, but most of the time, when the marriage breaks down, it is very ugly. A lot of things. So Islam forbids that. It says that just like you were married on the good terms, you should leave on the good terms. So that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing, that if there's no reconciliation process is taking process, so best thing is that either you hold your wife in a good term, so you can have a reconciliation, and sort of you try to rebuild your marriage relationship. And but if there's no hope, so it is better that you leave it on the good terms, like instead of things like usually custody battle, this battle, and all that. So usually money things, because this is a very unique relationship, husband and wife, because when a man wife marries his wife, so usually the property, wealth, they become the one. And when they separate, the separation of money and separation of property again becomes a very ugly phenomenon. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that be careful with that. When if there's no, if you leave your wife, leave it on a good terms. And third thing that is mentioning, just don't hold your wife so you want to torture her, or you want to blackmail her and say that I will not leave you. So now there's no more love is there, there's no more understanding is there, but they just want to put off the marriage just for the sake of torture. So this kind of thing is sincerely. And meher, basically, what is the concept of meher? Meher is basically a gift that is given by husband to wife. So it is most preferably in the form of any currency, cash, but it could be in form of jewelry and gold and property. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning that whatever you have given, because gift, when you give to your wife, it does not allow for you, I'm not saying for any person who give a gift to his wife at the time of marriage, and if things do not work out and they are going on their own separate way, it is not permissible for the husband to demand that, oh, I gave you this and this and that, so give it back to me, because that was a gift. Once somebody gives a gift to somebody, you cannot take it back. But things have turned out too ugly. So just to compromise, if the wife give away something, it is okay. So this way that the separation doesn't turn too ugly. There's one incident in Nabi Muhammad time, that one Sahabiya was very beautiful, and at that time there was a marriages that in which the wife does not see the husband properly. It was, so she was married, she was a beautiful lady, and she got married to Ansari Sahabi, who was a good person, but was not as good looking as her. So she refused to live with him, and she came to Nabi Muhammad and said that so Nabi Muhammad asked the whole matter, what is the issue? So she said that I'm a beautiful lady and you have seen my husband, that so I do not want to live with him. So Nabi Muhammad said, yes, there should be some love between husband and wife. So she could not even stand looking at him. So Nabi Muhammad nullified that marriage. But Nabi Muhammad said that he had given you a garden as a gift, a marriage gift or meher, so you have to return it. So she said yes, like take the garden he had gifted me as a meher. Even if he wants to take more of wealth from me, I'm okay with that. So that's how Nabi Muhammad nullified the marriage between husband and wife, because even at the first sight she did not like him. So this should not be an issue. There should be a love, understanding. So another thing in the marriage is when Hazrat Zaid bin Harisa, he was actually a slave. He was sold as a slave, and he came to Nabi Muhammad. Nabi Muhammad gave Zaid bin Harisa so much love that it felt more like a son to him. And when the original parents of Hazrat Zaid bin Harisa came from Yemen, his uncle and father, and tried to take him back, he had developed so much love for Nabi Muhammad, he refused to go back with his biological father. So, but he was married to the cousin of Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Bibi Zainab, and that marriage did not work out. The reason for that is, even in those days, although Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam adopted him and gave him the love of that, at one point he even declared, when the parents of Zaid bin Harisa came to take him back to Yemen and offered all kind of money to Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that, I do not need money. Ask Zaid if he wants to go back with you. You can take him back without paying me any money. So, but when he refused to go back, he loved Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam more than his own father. So Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was so much overwhelmed by the love of Hazrat Zaid that he grabbed the hand of Hazrat Zaid bin Harisa, took him to the Baitullah and says, from now on, nobody will call him Zaid bin Harisa. Everybody will call him Zaid bin Muhammad. So that was Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam love for Hazrat Zaid. And later on, the command came that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that call the people by their biological father and name. So again, instead of being Zaid bin Muhammad, he was still again start being called Zaid bin Harisa. So Zaid bin Harisa, his love was so strong that one of the toughest journey of Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he went to Taif for propagation of Islam. He became shield. All the cruel people and treacherous people, they were throwing stones at Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Hazrat Zaid bin Harisa became shield until the point that he got injured himself. So when he got married to Bibi Zainab, so that marriage did not work out. The reason for that is, although because of love and all that and adoption by Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he still had the stigma being a slave. And Bibi Zainab being from the Quraysh, the most honored tribe of all the Arabia. So Hazrat Zaid started complaining to Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that Bibi Zainab doesn't treat him very well. So a point came when the marriage did not work out, and the divorce happened. So that's when Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that marriage should take place between hamkuf. Hamkuf means equal things. So a girl who's getting married, it is like a plant being uprooted from the soil and being planted in a new soil. So a favorable soil is needed, so for that to marriage to flourish. So that was a sort of a mismatch between Bibi Zainab and Hazrat Zaid bin Harisa. So Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, always marry between your own kuf. Like means there should be similar things between husband and wife in terms of family, in terms of thinking, in terms of ideology for the marriage to work out best. So this is being mentioned. So hududullah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning that uphold the hudud of Allah. And hududullah means the hudud is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that marry a woman with a good terms, and if you have to separate, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like the divorce or separation between husband and wife. But if it happens, do that with a good terms and in a good manners, not like and the topic continues. And if the husband divorces, like after the third time, if things do not work out, so that will be considered a final divorce. And the third divorce, there's no such thing as reconciliation, because that is considered a final divorce. Only way, like if a person is married to a woman and the divorce has taken place 3 times, either verbally or the way of process of the 3 separation. If it happens, so now if they try to reconcile, there's no way. Only way is that that lady who was the former wife, ex-wife of her husband, she goes and marries some other person, and that person divorced, and this is the only way. But other than that, there's no. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again is saying that uphold the whatever the dastur or whatever the tradition is. So the tradition is that when you separate, or it could be here, tradition could mean the laws. So we are living in a country, so if anybody's case come to you, So we also have to follow the laws, whichever jurisdiction you are living. So that was considered dastur or bil maruf, but now it is considered the not only the tradition but the laws of a country that person is living. Here, in terms of I mentioned with the petition is filed by a woman who wants a separation or the divorce from her husband. So that is a different process. That it is she has to approach a qazi. Qazi doesn't mean a person who's nikah khan, who arranged the marriage between husband and wife. Qazi means a judge, a person of jurisdiction. Equivalent to that in North America would be a family court, and she has to explain that these are the issues. And even here in North America, in Canada, America, these family courts, they order counseling and offer reconciliation, because it is not an easy thing. It is one of the hardest thing for anybody when they are divorcing or separating for and here the word Maulana Sahib is using dastur. I just explained that it could mean the tradition, it could mean the laws of the thing. And do not hold off any woman just because you want to torture her, or if she doesn't want to live and all the attempt to reconciliations have failed, just don't hold it for the sake of holding her. Just free her if there's no. And try to remember the good times, because that's what happened in the time of separation. All the good times they have spent together. In some cases, they have children and all that, but they don't want to do anything. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forbidding, because basically this relationship between husband and wife is a ni'mat, is a blessing of that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, remember the good times and try to. So this is a very detailed topic. So I will basically leave it here. If some brother wants to comment on that or, add to that. Any brother has.
Assalamu alaikum, bhai.
Walaikum assalam, how are you?
MashaAllah, alhamdulillah, shukrullah. I am very, very much thankful today. Thank you so much for that explanation. Alhamdulillah, I had no clue that even Hazrat Adam as-salam gave a meher, and the meher was Durud Sharif. Kya baat hai. Subhanallah. That is a very beautiful point I had no clue about. And what a beautiful meher. I love it. Thank you so much for that. Jazakallah khair. Bahut shukriya. MashaAllah. And that clarification for the talaq is very nice. I have a question real quick. Someone had told me there is something called khila. I think when the woman asks for separation.
Yes.
Is there multiple different types of that? I was told that someone said that there's multiple different types.
There are different types of that. The thing is that she has to approach, as I said, a qazi. Qazi means a judge. Because in our language, Urdu language, qazi is also interpreted as a nikah khan, a person who recites the nikah. That is not the qazi, is the person of authority. As I said, equivalent to that would be a family court judge or something like that. So she has to file for that and explain it, and has to be a reason that why that is. Because sometimes a husband will just hold off a marriage, would not want to divorce his wife. So that's when she can approach, and at that time the qazi or the judge can arrange, or he can give the talaq on behalf of the husband, because husband is just holding off the marriage for the sake of like he doesn't want her not fulfilling the right.
So even the qazi has the ijaza to do.
Yes, qazi has that. He has to look at if the husband is cruel, husband is not living with her, and just in the name of paper still is the wife. So practically is not. So judge has to judge the situation and nullify the marriage, or can give the talaq on the behalf of the husband, that now he's not fulfilling his right, and that's why he can order a separation or the talaq.
Subhanallah. Jazakallah khair. Okay, thank you so much.
And another situation is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is creator of the whole universe and all the all the relationship. So he has guided us in all the circumstances. And such a circumstances, a person missing in action, a person has gone to war and never came back. Nothing has been, no information has been found. Is he died in fighting or he went missing? And there's another way of qala that, she can say, okay, my husband is missing. I do not have any clue where she is. So again, in that case, in the missing, a person in the olden days, if he has gone on a sea journey and never came back, so there was a time period in which, Qazi can sort of decide that, oh, that person is missing, probably he will not come back or he will come back. So he can order a khula of that time. So there could be both situations in which, marriage is not working out. So, but there is a situation, if there's a person missing, if he comes back, so what judge has given the order, or the Qazi had given the order that, he had nullified the marriage because the husband was missing. So that order of separation would be nullified. One of the persons, one of my teacher actually once said that, what he sort of did it in a riddle that if a person walks into a room, what kind of person is that one nikah will be nullified for one person, the adab or the respect will be compulsory, and for one person it will be compulsory to leave the room. So that riddle, none of the students could solve it. So he says that a person who was missing in like, in terms of journey or missing in action or anything, if the judge has nullified his marriage and his wife married another man, and again after a long time he comes back and walk into the room, so one nikah will be nullified because she has married somebody else, so that nikah will be nullified. And if he has children in that room, so the respect would be compulsory for the children because the father walked into the room. And now that nikah is nullified, so the person whose nikah has been nullified, now the wife has become stranger to him. He has to walk out of that room. So it is just a riddle that our teacher gave.
Very, very interesting point. Subhanallah. Ali bhai, jazakallah khair. That's very interesting.
So qula,
Assalamu alaikum, bhai. Is there any duration for after how long it will be nullified if the person is missing?
I'm not sure about that. There's a different, like you are talking about person missing in action or
yes, person is missing in action.
I think I'm not sure about that, so I cannot. But there's some duration and also dependent on circumstances. The circumstance in which one person went missing, like was it on the sea journey or was it in an accident? It depends on things.
Okay, Jazakallah.
Sorry, I joined in a little late. Sorry.
MashaAllah, we were discussing, the way Surah Baqarah is in entirety is Madani Surah. So the topics that are being discussed in Surah Baqarah is all the topics that arose from the Madani life. So the problem of the hypocrites, problem of dealing with people of scriptures, those tales that are described in the previous scriptures, and now the family life, because in Madani life, when the Islamic State was established, so Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also reformed the family life of the people, and that made a whole lot of difference in although he established a political state, a spiritual state of Medina, but the foundation of that was good morals, good family life, all that. So this family life is being discussed a lot in detail in Surah Baqarah.
Yeah, mashallah, Ali, I love the example that you used, that for marriage, for a girl is just like when she weds off to a new home, to her husband's home. It's like as if taking a plant from one garden and putting in another garden, because that's exactly what I've experienced when I've had certain shrubs or whatever planted in. The landscapers always told me, like, the first few months it's a shock, so you have to fertilize it, you have to give it the nutrients, and everything has to be. But if you don't take proper care, it could pretty much die, and then you have to replace it. So it is so similar to mashallah, subhanallah. It's a beautiful example that you used, Ali bhai. I just loved it when you said it, mashallah.
And Nabi Sallallahu hadith, famous hadith, that marry among your own kuf. Kuf means
yes,
similar. And it is done when Bibi Zainab and Hazrat marriage did not work out. And that's when Hazrat Zaid name is mentioned in Quran. Like Zaid is the only Sahabi's name that is mentioned in Quran. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding Zaid to divorce Bibi Zainab. Because they were from totally different background.
But Ali bhai, as we see now in our generation, you see a lot of people from the Indian subcontinent marrying with local people over here, and sometimes they don't even revert to Islam. And so, is there? What is? Is there something that you could shed some light with what we have read today?
Yes, it is like the marriage between Muslim and non-Muslim is not permissible. So hamkuf could mean something with a similar ideology. Like you have to know the family a person is marrying into, and if tomorrow you have to marry your children. So how they would fit in, the word I would say, the fit in. That's what we I think approximate translation in English of hamkuf. Hamkuf means a match. The word that is used, a match. How are they? So this is a totally, like, even back in India and even here, people are marrying outside their religion. That is not permissible, because that is a recipe for losing your future generation. Allah save us from that. And that's when, family life is very important. Like, start the key to the family life is wife, but all the one follows, the children and everything. You have to always be very close to your family, be a friend to your family. I remember Hazrat Ali, when he was telling people how to raise their children, he described the different stages of your children's life. He said, for the first 7 years, play with your child. Like, from his birth to 7 years, just play with him, because this is a time for the fun and play and all that. The child is too young to understand any teaching. He said, for the next 7 years, from age 7 to 14, he says, teach your children, teach him manners, teach him everything. So he said that for next 7, and he said that from next 7 years, from the age 14 to 21, befriend your child. And he said that after that, it means after 21 years of age, leave your child to himself, like leave him alone. Do not interfere with his issues. So this is sort of a tip by Hazrat Ali, how to raise your children, or how to deal with your children. So at least I try to follow that. My children are, older now, but when they were small, till age 7, I try to play with them, and after that, I try to teach them the good things. And I have one child who's 17 years, so he, according to Hazrat Ali, is at the age that I should befriend him and treat him like a friend. So this age 14 to 21, it is like what we describe as a teenage in this. So a child needs more of a friend than a teacher. So any brother have any other comments or any questions about that? Mansoor Mian, you have? If not, inshallah, we will end this with the dua, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل وسلم على النبي الأمي وآله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد بعدد كل ذرة ألف مرة وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد صاحب التاج والمراج والبراق والألم دافع البلاء والوباء والقهر والمرض والألم. اسمه مكتوب مرفوع مشفوع منقوش في اللوح والقلم. سید العرب والعجم جسمه مقدس معطر مطهر منور في البيت والحرم. شمس الضحى بدر الدجى صدر الللا نور الهدى كاف الورى مصباح الظلم جميل الشيم شفيع الأمم صاحب الجود والكرم. والله آسمه وجبريل قادمه والبراق مركوبه والميراج سفره والسدرة المنتهى مقامه وقاب قوسين مطلوبه والمطلوب مقصوده والمقصود موجوده. سيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين أنيس الغريبين رحمة للعالمين راحة العاشقين مراد المشتاقين شمس العارفين سراج السالكين مصباح المقربين محب الفقراء والغرباء والمساكين. سيد الثقلين نبي الحرمين إمام القبلتين وسيلتنا في الدارين صاحبي قاب قوسين محبوب رب المشرقين ورب المغربين جد الحسن والحسين مولانا ومولى الثقلين أبي القاسم محمد بن عبد الله نور من نور الله. يا أيها المشتاقون بنور جماله صلوا عليه وآله وأصحابه وسلموا تسليما. اللہ تعالیٰ آج ہم نے جو کچھ پڑھا ہے اس میں قبول فرما. اس کا ایصال ثواب حضور مبارک صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کو پہنچ کے ان کے تمام اہل بیت کرام تمام صحابہ کرام کو پہنچ کے سیدنا حضرت ابو بکر صدیق خط عمر فاروق خط عثمان بن حضرت علی کرم اللہ وجہ تمام عشر مبشرہ کو پہنچ کے تمام اصحاب بدر تمام اصحاب احد تمام اصحاب کربلا کو پہنچ کے حضرت امام حسن امام حسین حضرت امام علی زین العابدین حضرت امام محمد باقر حضرت امام جعفر صادق حضرت امام موسیٰ کاظم حضرت امام علی رضا حضرت امام محمد تقی حضرت امام علی نقی حضرت امام حسن عسکری امام محمد مہدی کو پہنچ کے حضرت کبیر احمد رفاعی کو پہنچ کے تمام بزرگان چشت خواجہ عثمان خاروانی خواجہ معین الدین چشتی بابا بختیار کاکی بابا فرید گنج شکر حضرت صابر پیا حضرت نظام الدین اولیاء حضرت امیر خسرو حضرت نصیر الدین چراغ دہلوی حضرت خواجہ گیسو دراز بندہ نواز کو پہنچ کے خواجہ محمد صدیق محبوب اللہ مولانا عبدالقادر صدیقی صاحب قبلہ موسیٰ پاشا قبلہ ڈاکٹر ضیاء الحق صاحب قبلہ کو پہنچ کے والدین سید خود بن صاحب قاضی بشیرالدین صاحب قبلہ کو پہنچ کے پیر یزدانی صاحب کو پہنچ کے پیر ابو نصر صاحب کو پہنچ پہنچ کے خاص و خاص غوث اعظم دستگیر پیرانی پیر پہ پہنچ کے ان کے فیض برکات سے اللہ تعالیٰ ہمیں اچھا قرآن پڑھنے سمجھنے عمل کرنے کی توفیق عطا فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ ہمارے نامعلوم اگلے پچھلے سب گناہوں کو چھپا لے تو ستار العیوب ہے. اللہ تعالیٰ ہمارے اگلے پچھلے ظاہر پوشیدہ جتنے بھی گناہ ہیں ان سب کو معاف فرما تو غفور الرحیم ہے. اللہ تعالیٰ ہمارے اگلے پچھلے ظاہر پوشیدہ جتنے بھی گناہ ہیں ان سب کی اصلاح فرما تو ہادی و رشید ہے. اللہ تعالیٰ ہمارے اگلے پچھلے ظاہر پوشیدہ جتنے بھی گناہ جتنے بھی کمیاں ہیں اللہ تعالیٰ سب کے گندے سرات دور فرما تو ملک القدوس ہے. اللہ تعالیٰ ہمارے تمام اگلے پچھلے ظاہر پوشیدہ جتنے بھی سیئات ہیں ان سب کو ثواب سے بدل دیجیے تو ذوالجلال والاکرام. اللہ تعالیٰ ہم پہ رحم فرما کرم فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ جتنے مسلمان بیمار ہیں اللہ تعالیٰ ان کو شفائے کاملہ عاجلہ عطا فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ ڈاکٹر برید بیمار ہیں اللہ تعالیٰ ان کو صحت کاملہ عاجلہ عطا فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ جتنے بھی دوسرے بیمار ہیں انہیں صحت کاملہ عاجلہ عطا فرما. جو بے روزگار ہیں اللہ تعالیٰ ان کو حلال طیب رزق عطا فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ جو روزگار سے ہیں ان کو روزگار میں ترقی و برکت عطا فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ جو ہم مسلمان اس دنیا سے گزر چکے ہیں ہمارے رشتہ دار ہمارے والدین اللہ تعالیٰ جتنے بھی عزیز و قارب جملہ مسلمین سب کی مغفرت فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ روز حشر کے دن اللہ تعالیٰ ہم سب کو اللہ تعالیٰ اپنے عرش کے سائے میں پناہ دے جب کوئی سایہ نہیں ہوگا. اللہ تعالیٰ روز حشر کے دن ہم سب کو اللہ تعالیٰ اپنے پیارے حبیب صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کی شفاعت نصیب فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ روز حشر کے دن ہم سب کو اللہ تعالیٰ ہمارے اعمال نامے ہمارے سیدھے ہاتھ میں عطا فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ روز حشر کے دن ہم سب کو اللہ تعالیٰ پل صراط کا سفر آسان اور آرام دہ فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ روز حشر کے دن ہم سب کو اللہ تعالیٰ حضور کے دست مبارک دست شفقت دست رحمت سے آب کوثر پینا نصیب فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ روز حشر کے دن ہم سب کو جنت فردوس کا پروانہ عطا فرما. اللہ تعالیٰ ہمارے آئندہ نسلوں کو شیطان کے شر اور نفس کی سرکشی سے بچا. ہمیں شیطان کے شر اور نفس کی سرکشی سے بچا. اللہ تعالیٰ ہمیں حادثات بلیات سے محفوظ رکھ. اللہ تعالیٰ ہمیں ناگہانی بیماریوں سے محفوظ رکھ. اللہ تعالیٰ ہمیں شیطان کے شر سے محفوظ رکھ نفس کی سرکشی سے محفوظ رکھ اور ہمارا خاتمہ بالخیر فرما. آمین. جزاک اللہ. آپ سب کو درس مبارک.